Now let us finally consider the reconstruction of the city of Moscow. We have on one side the existing old layout of Moscow, and then on the other side the ideal city planning. And in Moscow we can see it is designed with ring roads, which are also causing inauspicious orientation to all the buildings. And the ring roads, concentric ring roads, are having in its center the Kremlin. And that Kremlin is having the river Moskva on the southern side. It's very inauspiciously placed. And the Kremlin itself is in a triangular compound marked by very high walls, red brick walls, very frightening. And this triangular compound is bringing the effect of government through fear. And this Kremlin was built by Ivan the Terrible, and every Russian government who has had its residence within the Kremlin was having the same heavy-handed policy. Now, we may want to look at the White House in Washington. Even though the White House itself is a properly oriented building, as the main part of Washington, D.C. is on a proper grid, but the whole city is inauspiciously placed because it sits in the branches of a river, of the Potomac River and the East River, which is at an angle. So the whole city is either having southwestern influence or southeastern influence, whichever river one may consider. And the White House itself, even though properly oriented, is now under the presidency of President Bush, is only using the southern entrance, which is very inauspicious, and because that is creating the negative and destructive influence leading to aggression and terrorism and even to war. In the same way, we can evaluate the parliament in Berlin, and one of our leaders, Dr. Schiffkins, was 2 days ago invited by the television to give a statement on the different orientations and placement of entrances of that parliament building. Then he was walking around, the camera was following him to the southern entrance, which is the entrance where they receive the foreign delegates and the foreign presidents, who then bring in, because it's the southern entrance, who bring with them all kinds of negative, destructive influence that is trying to bring down the nation or spy on the nation, and that even though they come with a smile, one is very then suspicious of them, of the policy. So one should never have a parliament building with a southern entrance. And then the main entrance is towards the west, with a great ceremonial staircase, and thousands of people are entering the building from the west, all the visitors and everybody. Similarly, the evaluation of the government buildings in New Delhi in India, that parliament building is a very inauspicious circular building. It was built under the British Empire, and which had the infamous policy to divide and rule the nation. So this round parliament building with pie-shaped perimeter offices is then further subdivided into 3 semicircular halls, which are interspaced by courtyards, and then another circular hall in the center. So this very strange configuration violates all values of proper orientation and is detrimental to the coherent thought, speech and action of the leaders of the nation. In addition, it has very inauspicious northeast and southeast entrances because it's a round building, and it is set in a triangular site even marked by angled roads, which is again creating the influence of government through fear. And such a building is a constant generator of disharmony and quarreling and fighting, and should immediately be abandoned and demolished to save the nation. So these government buildings where the destiny of the whole population is being decided, they must be redesigned, and they must be designed in accord with natural law, the constitution of the universe. For this same reason, Maharshiji has repeatedly called on government leaders to abandon all improperly designed buildings as if an earthquake had hit the building. When every building in the city is constructed in accord with natural law, then individual intelligence is connected to the cosmic intelligence, and the city gains an indomitable influence of coherence, fortune, and invincibility. This principle of invincibility in nature is illustrated by the Meissner effect in quantum physics, which shows that the ability to resist disorder is based on the coherent collective functioning of the system. So that same principle of physics, that coherent collective functioning excludes disturbing influences, has also its direct correspondence in the Mahasi-Vastu effect. And the Mahasi-Vastu effect is that principle which creates an invincible city. In an ordinary city, all the roads are in a chaotic direction, running in all directions, and creating disorientation of all the buildings, which leads to chaos and problems and violations of natural law in individual and professional life. And in the Vastu of an ideal city, all roads are aligned parallel to north-south, east-west. Around the central square, the silent park, the Brahmastan of the city, and that is automatically creating order and coherence and support of natural law in the city.
Any existing city can be transformed into a coherent, ideal city where every individual enjoys the full support of natural law, and the mayor is invincible in his city. This transformation could take place in 4 main phases. Phase 1, controlling the expansion of the city by establishing a master plan with parallel roads in east-west and north-south directions. Phase 2, construction of peace colonies and Vastu satellite towns around the city, free from pollution, noise and stress, and set in landscaped gardens. Phase 3, starting to demolish the congested city center, replacing it with a beautiful garden Brahmastan, parks and fountains. And Phase 4, the final stage of the expanded garden city, providing ideal living conditions, including modern communication and transportation systems.
So as the people see the elimination of their problems and more creativity blossoming in living in newly built Vastu homes, these old cities will be rebuilt very quickly, and developers and builders will fulfill their role of providing more healthy and more fortunate homes for the population. So with this knowledge, builders can stop building unlucky buildings that produce problems and difficulties for the people, and instead quickly build fortune-creating homes, office buildings and schools and hospitals and factories in harmony with natural law. And in this way they can eliminate the unseen basis of many problems in individual and national life and improve their own good fortune too. So this realization of Vedic architecture and planning has given rise to our global reconstruction program to provide auspicious, fortune-creating Vastu buildings for the whole population of the world, and for the world's 6 million population, 1 billion homes have to be created. So all the